In this presentation are those of the producer and those appearing in the show and do not necessarily represent the views of DerryCam, the town of Derry, or any of its staff or affiliates. Hi, I'm Anthony Henry. Welcome back to America's Ass. We're on episode 43, I think. We're getting up there. We're almost at 50. We're getting up there. But anyway, I'm doing a county commissioner episode. We have, so there's some interesting things going on in the county. There's some controversies. There was redistricting, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I have a current county commissioner and a former county commissioner. Soon, hopefully, soon to be current county commissioner. So, we'll get into that. Who wants to go first to introduce themselves?
You like me?
Yeah, Brian.
All right, Anthony. I'm Brian Chirichiello. Obviously, been a guest here on your show a couple times, and thanks for inviting me back. I do live in Derry.
You're the first three-time guest.
All right, I appreciate that. And I'm currently a county commissioner running for District 2.
I'm Tom Tombarello. I live in Sandown, New Hampshire. I was a commissioner from 2012 to 2022. I'm currently a selectman in my hometown. I've been a selectman for 17 years, where I currently am the chairman again over in Sandown. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you both for coming. I'll start wherever you guys want. I guess we'll start with one of the hot button things that happened recently with you. There was a questionable vote and some controversy around that, so I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, sure. So we were at a meeting, and I raised an objection on some non-public minutes that were not non-public, and unfortunately I got some kickback from the other two commissioners, and they didn't like it, and so the short story is the Democrat voted to vacate my seat, and I'm the chairman, currently the chairman, or was the chairman, and my fellow Republican, Commissioner Gaudu, actually seconded that motion, which is unfortunate because we're running against each other. This 30 days before the election, and I've been in politics for a long time. I know dirty pool when I see dirty pool, and that was a setup, but I won't go into any other details, but that's what's happened. Still a commissioner, though. They can't take me from my seat. It's the good people that voted me in 4 years ago from Derry and some other towns. So I still am a commissioner, and I'm gonna do my job to the best of my ability.
We've seen this trend with vacating the chair a lot over the past year. Starting at the federal level, we saw what happened with Kevin McCarthy. Mm-hmm. That was a big deal. That was the first time a Speaker of the House has ever been vacated in American history. And, obviously there was all those votes to get a new one. Eventually you ended up with Mike Johnson. And then he almost got vacated himself. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I've met before, tried vacating that as well. So I think things like that, and I'll include impeachment in there too. I think that counts as well. Things that should only be used for rare, really bad circumstances are starting to be used as political weapons, because they're doing their research and they're realizing all these tools they can use to get their political opponents out. And that includes jailing as well. We saw that with President Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my instance, it was all filmed on video. So if people wanted to see it, they could just go to a Rockingham County Commissioner meeting. I believe it was the meeting of 8/8. It's probably about an hour and 40 minutes in, and you can see it. Both commissioners agree with me that we never went into non-public meeting. So why did we have non-public minutes? It was illegal. I wasn't having any part of that, and it's just unfortunate because things have been running very, very smoothly at the county. A lot of good things are happening there. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So we'll move on, and hopefully I get reelected, and we'll be back there for another 4 years.
And another vacating thing, I forgot to mention this, but one of our most recent guests, Joe Kelly Levasseur, who's the chair of the Manchester Board of Aldermen, he had a motion against him as well. Alderman Patrick Long tried to remove him because Alderman Lavasser made a post he reposted something that a person posted that was in very poor taste about the recent assassination attempt, and that person ended up getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
And that Alderman Long thought that Alderman Lavasser had something to do with that. So there was a big thing about that. The final vote was 5-7-2, so he did not get vacated, but it's in New Hampshire with you, with Alderman Lavasser. It's a tool now. We're going to see dirty politics, and
Yeah.
I agree. It probably had something to do with you running again, but we won't get into that. And you had something a couple of years ago with your redistricting. That was rather unique, so we'll get into that.
So my case is, and just to go back on what you two were just talking about, I was there at that meeting on the 8th. And was sitting in there as the public and was kind of caught off guard because I've been around a long time, 17 years selectman, never had that happen where we'd remove anybody or move any positions. I was at the county as a commissioner for 10 years and I was the chairman twice, and it never really, we never looked at anything like that. So I was really caught off guard. Unfortunately, like I said, I was the public and I don't really know what the non-public was, but I felt really uncomfortable, and I felt sad for the county, and I felt bad for the elected officials that were there. I felt really bad for the division directors because it was really a tough atmosphere to be in. But like I said, I was the public, so I'm not involved. But getting back to my case, so I was elected in 2012 as a county commissioner, and 2022, House Bill 54 came along to redistrict some towns. And the way the commissioners is put in there, you get a 2-year, a 2-year, and a 4-year. So I had a 2-year going there, and I was in District 2. Brian, I think, was in District 3, which I'm going to be in now. So what happened was they redistricted, and the state reps that get redistricted, they get their own hometown, and then they get a couple. They move them every 10 years. I believe it's a 10-year cycle that they do it. And nobody really knew what happened is they moved mine into Brian's district of 3, where Brian was elected to a 4-year term.
Right.
So now, all of a sudden, we didn't realize it at first, and as it got closer to the election, towards signing up in June, all of a sudden somebody said, we're in trouble here. Tommy, you can't run. I'm like, why can't I run? So I reached out to a lot, Senator Morse, Representative House Speaker Sherm Packard, Senator Carson. They all tried real hard, and Governor Sununu was a friend of mine. So there was no foul on Tom. It just that it happened that they put me in a district where I couldn't run. And then, as crazy as it sounds, somebody I think had mentioned to Brian, I think you should resign. And I think I called Brian right away. I said, you were elected by the people in Derry and your other towns. You don't. I'll go on my own way, try and straighten out my golf game, which I haven't straightened out my golf game yet. And, it's unfortunate. And, I don't tell a lot of people, but I cried. My wife and I was really sad because I was really devoted to be a commissioner. So, unfortunately, I'm running again. I have a couple of opponents. I have a primary coming up with a woman from Londonderry, Deb Paul, and I have a general election for somebody from Northwoods who I haven't met and haven't seen any activity. So I'm running to get my job back. I felt like I was taken out of a position that I shouldn't have, and I'm strong. We're strong now, and right now I think and the other part is Brian gets a little relief now. He gets to go over to District 2, where he only has 8 towns. Tom now has 15 towns. So I've been in some towns. I've hit 13 of the 15 to go talk to different groups. I was out again last night. But some of the towns are really towns. I don't go to Nottingham. I don't go to Northwoods. So the 15 towns really put you all over Deerfield. I'm all over the map now. So 15 towns, including my hometown of Sandown, is a lot of work. But we're working real hard. Working real hard. Something that I think I should go back, and my experience should put me back in that seat.
Yeah, and again, it was really unique. And you have a unique situation, too, with 2 incumbents vying for 1 seat, which we mentioned.
Right. So to piggyback on what Tom had mentioned, so at the time when they did the redistricting, there were people, I got the 4-year term, and some people had said, well, why don't you resign District 3 and run in the new 2? And I'm like, why would I do that? Because I just got elected to a 4-year term. So that didn't happen. But what happened is that the new District 2, they actually took Derry out of my district. They took Wyndham out of my district. That's how strange it was. But I had a 4-year term. I talked to the AG's office. I actually thought that they were going to switch me to District 2 automatically, because you're supposed to live in the district you represent. But because I was elected before that all happened, the AG said, no, you were elected for 4 years, you stay there for 4 years. The legislators can pick and choose whatever towns they want to move things out of. So I said, okay. So it was sad. I could sense, because Tom and I, we served together. And to be honest with you, when Tom and I were there, we got more stuff done at the county. And I could learn from a 10-year vet, an experienced person. Even though I had experience on the delegation side and knew a lot of ins and outs, working with Tom was really, really great. Those first 2 years that I had, we have accomplished a lot. And then again, so knowing in 4 years I'd have to run from District 3, I have to run into new District 2. But I let the current commissioner in District 2 know that I plan on running, just to let you know. So he's not surprised. There's no surprises. We knew we'd have to work together for a couple of years, and then when the time came, we'd have to run against each other. So here we are. So it's either going to be a commissioner with experience from Derry, or you're going to get a commissioner who's fairly new out of Salem. And so I'm rooting for Derry, because Derry's the largest town in the county. We should have representation, So hopefully it'll work out.
So, once you're elected, there's a lot going on in the county right now. What are some of your goals?
Well, so when Tom and I were on there, we actually got the building up and going, and now that building's got a really nice history, because about 8 years ago we talked about it as a dream. We said it would be great to have that building, because we've got employees in bad situations in state buildings that they're working in the basement. There's issues. So it'd be great if we had a building. And so, what ended up happening is once I got elected during COVID. And so what ended up happening is we got, every county in the country receives ARPA money. So we said, wow, this is really a good time to build this building that we've talked about for many years. So we got that up and going. They're a year in, we're a year out for the ribbon cutting ceremony. I've been a part of that for 8 years. As well as Tom as well. And then we've got a big solar array. We'll have the largest solar array in the state, 8,800 panels, which makes sure we don't have an electric bill for the next 30 years, which we allocate about $600,000 a year for electricity. That bill's gone away. Plus it generates another $150,000 in revenue.
Electric bills are going up right now.
Well, the county's not going to have a bill for the next 30 years, so that's just a good thing. I'll let Tom piggyback on that, too, because Tom was part of that building, too.
Yeah, the building is really something we're excited about. I know Brian had mentioned, right now we pay about $300,000, or they do, I'm still the public. They pay about $300,000 a year in rent for Register of Deeds Kathy Stacy, the county attorney Pat Conway, and the sheriff has a little office there for some bailiffs and stuff like that. We pay about $300,000 for rent. And I'll be right up front, and I'm glad we're on TV, because the state should not be landlords. We have sewerage backups. We have leaks. They're in the cellar, and we have leaks in the cellar, and there's 2 floors above them. They had a mold problem where we tested for mold, and our test came back real high, and the state tested, and they said that they were normal, just needed to clean some of the vents with some Windex and paper towels. And I remember, and the lady did not like when I called, because my background is construction, so I'm like, there's no way that you're replacing mold or getting rid of mold by paper towels and Windex. But that's so. We battled with them, and we're thrilled to get them out of there. The other thing with the new building, I know Brian talked a little bit about out back with the solar. We're going to have that 90-day program, which I'm really excited about. So 90 days, and Brian might be able to correct me because he's more up to it in the last year and a half of what the program is, but they're going to be 90 days before they're released to the society. They're going to be able to get back and get acclimated with what the real life is. And right now what happens is I think there's some money that they actually get them a cab and they bring them somewhere. If you do that, they're apt to go with one of their friends and get in trouble right away. I think the 90-day program is going to be really, really something it's going to work. So, we're going to save $300,000, like Brian said. I think the solar, if the numbers are right, about $700,000 we're going to generate, and I think our bill is about $500,000. So, it's really, really good. The other thing, I know you asked the question on what some of the goals were, and I know right now they're working on it. The nursing problem. We're not going to solve it because we'd be the first in the world to solve it. But we have to come up with solutions as to what we're going to do to get the nurses. And unfortunately, when I was there, the nursing group went union, and I really wish they didn't go union. I think they're probably kicking themselves where they don't want them today. They went union, and our hands are tied as commissioners to help them. They got to get the money because the traveling nurses, and Brian has the exact figures as what we're over on traveling nurses and the on-call nurses. It's just out of control and really went over by millions of dollars and really is causing trouble. So I hope to get back there with the commissioners and get back there with we have a new nursing home administrator that's coming in and really roll up the sleeves and find out what do we got to do to stop the bleeding. We're not going to solve it. Rockingham is not going to solve the nursing shortage, but we got to make it better than what it is.
Yeah. And I'll just piggyback. So when I first got elected and serving with Tom, we had three issues: nurses at the long-term care. We couldn't find plumbers and electricians, and we had a problem with correction officers. So we were at half staff with forced overtime. We had mandatory overtime, half staff with the correction officers, and we had a lot of people going in and out of jails that had mental health issues. And my staff really not trained in mental health, so you can tell it was very, very stressful. So I'm glad to say that we solved two of those three problems, right? We solved the correction officers. Now we're at full complement with the correction officers. As a matter of fact, there's no additional overtime. They're asking for overtime. We don't have it because we're full staff. We solved that problem. Then we were able to get a couple of plumbers on site, and we solved that problem. So we're at full staff there in facilities. Last problem that we had is this nursing, and as Tom mentioned, it's not going to get done overnight because, let's face it, it's not just a problem at Rockingham County, it's countrywide. Actually, it's worldwide, if you think about it. And you've got these traveling nurses making a lot of money. Now, I don't begrudge anyone who wants to make more money. I think that's sort of natural, and I don't begrudge anybody. The problem is the costs just keep escalating and escalating, and I'm a fiscal conservative, so there's a limit for me. So the way I see it is we'll try to bring in our own staffing nurses, which will help save money. If we can do that, that'll help offset some of the traveling nurse numbers. And if we can't, then it's just not sustainable. So we're just going to have to limit the amount of beds we have until we can get more people. That's the way I kind of view it, because I don't want to just bust the budget and just spend endless pools of money. That's not where I want to go. But that's me as one commissioner. I don't know how the other commissioners feel about that, but I'm not going to bust the budget. Everyone knows the county budget, especially in Rockingham County, not one town has a tax rate of $1 or more. They're all under $1. Every single one, every single town. So you get the biggest bang for your dollar at the county. There's no doubt about it. And you know me. I've been town, I've been state, and now I'm at county government. And county government is very efficient.
So, Gio, if I could just, right?
Go ahead.
As far as the jail, too, when I remember getting elected in 2012, we had 340 inmates in that jail. And state reps, and I know Brian's a former state rep, and he was on the executive committee, and whenever there's trouble, state reps want to start a subcommittee. They, if something's wrong, they get together, and we got together with the county attorney and former Sheriff Mike Downing and different people, and we said, how are we going to get these people? I remember looking at a manifest where one young lady was put in that jail for shoplifting, and she was being held for $250 bail, and she was sentenced to a 6-month sentence. And I'm like, she should not be in that jail and being held on $250 bail. She obviously had no family and nobody that cared for her, and we looked into it, and everybody got together, and we started the overcrowding of the jail committee. Because way back then in 2012 and 13, we looked at bonding $25 million to put an addition on the jail because the jail was overcrowded with 340, 330 inmates. With the diversion program, the drug program, drug court, the bracelet program, I can tell you I go to every meeting, or I at least Zoom every meeting. I think last week was 145 inmates. There was 320. So it's working. These programs are definitely working, because they were talking $25 million addition, and I think you have blocks closed in the jail now.
Yeah.
They have blocks that are closed. They were sleeping they called them canoes, and they were out in the hallways, and it was, so, I mean, the jail has really come a long way. Yeah.
And this one might be more of a state issue, but it is in Rockingham County, so I'll touch on it, see if you guys have any thoughts on it. Hampstead Hospital. A lot of people know something's going on, but they don't know what exactly it's all about. So, one of you can take that short summary.
So the state bought that, purchased Hampstead Hospital for juvenile detention. My understanding is they're still trying to work out the kinks there. Hampstead's a small town, and so if something happens, they have to call police. And so, a small town handling that's not the easiest thing to do.
And that affects all surrounding towns, such as Derry and Sandton.
Right. So, actually, believe it or not, I think I read an article where they were talking about, we don't have a state police barracks close by, so maybe we can use the sheriff's department at Rockingham County. And it's like, well, no, you didn't talk to us at Rockingham County. We're not 24/7 at Rockingham County. We're not 24/7. And by the way, if you're gonna want to expect the county to help police that stuff, we need to see where the funds are going to come. The state would have to pay us, but that's not on the table right now. It looks like they're trying to iron that out, and so that's where they're at.
Yeah. And as far as that, I know firsthand, Sandown's right next to Hampstead, so I have a friend of mine that owns a 50-unit apartment complex across from the hospital. So he has met with Chuck Morse, he's met with Senator Birdsell, I think he's had conversation maybe with the governor. That area on East Road where the hospital is, that they are really upset. He's getting some of these wanderers to come over, and I know Chief Bob Kelly from Hampstead, they really shouldn't have to go over there on every call. But it takes about 19 minutes for a state police cop with a dog, because they usually come down and get on there and help them out. Hampstead is not a place for that. Where is? But you know what? For them to spring that on them, and I think what happened was I don't think there was enough education on it. And I can tell you that just the guy that I know, Bob Villella, and some of the people are really, really upset that they're bringing that to Hampstead. I mean, but where is the place for it? I don't want it in Sandown either, but at least let them have the choice. Don't just bring it there.
In my eyes, should have stayed in Manchester. They should have probably maybe rebuilt the building, made it bigger. Obviously, they needed reforms because of all the horrible stuff that went on in there. But it should, as you both said, it should not be in a small town like Hampstead. I've been to Hampstead a lot. I have a lot of friends that live in Hampstead. Hampstead's a Pinkerton town, so I know a ton of people there.
Yeah.
Doesn't belong there. It should be in a much larger town or city, such as Manchester or a Nashua or a Concord. Derry to a certain extent, maybe, but I really wouldn't want it in Derry. But
property values are the other thing.
That's
chime in. You take that East Road. There's some real nice houses. They just did a couple of developments, not too far from where the complex is, where the old Hampstead Hospital was. I know that there's a couple of new developments. They're $1 million homes in there. You put a prison there, that house isn't worth $1 million. It's not worth $1 million. Nobody's going to want to buy that house and have that across the street. So I just think they did it all wrong. The word, and with the different people that I talked to, is it was just all of a sudden one day it became the state mental hospital. And they really didn't get the education, and I feel bad for the Hampstead Police and Chief Kelly, Bob Kelly. I know that he's been adamant that they didn't want it either. So
that's why I brought it up. I think people, like I said, people know something's about to happen or is going on there, but they don't really know the details, and they don't get that. It really is a big deal for this area.
Yeah. I just want to switch it up a little bit because I know we're running low on time. But so Tom mentioned that he did 10 years as a county commissioner, but more importantly, he brought up the fact that he was a Sandown selectman for how many years, Tom?
17.
17 years. And so, looking at my resume, okay, I'm on my 18th year as a Derry Town Councilor. I did 10 years as a state rep. And part of that 10 years state rep, I did delegation work. And the point that I'm trying to make is this is a very important job, very, very important. It's $103 million. We don't have a county administrator. So the three commissioners have to deal with the day-to-day. People like Tom's got the experience. He's worked his way up the ladder, okay? Same with me. I've gone through a lot of those experiences. Currently, the commissioners right now, unfortunately, just don't have that same experience. One of them's been on, I think, the budget committee in Salem for 8 years. That's his extent of politics. And then the other one is from Portsmouth. I think she's on the police commission. So I'm not picking on them. They're newer, but if you really, like I had mentioned earlier, we got more done when Tom and I sat together with the third commissioner because we've been through this and we know what we need to do. It's not something to cut your teeth on. You really need to kind of follow a pattern, I believe, and that's just my opinion. But I would love to go back to hopefully Tom and I will get put back there, and then we'll make a lot of things work, and we'll fix the problems that we have and do it the right way.
And with that, we got a couple minutes left. So, closing statements. We'll start with you this time.
I would just say that I hope this goes out to a lot of people that can vote in one of my 15 towns. I bring a lot of experience. I have two opponents that really don't have any experience in the county, and I try to at least attend or Zoom every meeting because I want the day that I get sworn back in, which is my intention, is that I'll be able to sit at that table with all the division directors and all the commissioners and all of the elected officials, and I'll be able to make motions and I'll be able to second motions because I'm not walking in blind. It's a big job, 500 employees, 8 unions, $103 million. We got to cut a ribbon across the street. There's a lot of irons in the fire. It's not something that somebody with no experience can walk in and do a good job. I promise you that.
Yeah, and I agree. I think experience, it boils down to experience. Again, we don't have a county administrator, so that just magnifies the importance of experience. And we deal with the day-to-day operations there. There are issues that need to be addressed. Tom mentioned that we have 8 unions, but 4 of those unions we have to negotiate with. If you have no experience with that, it's tough. It makes it tough. And so I've had the experience again from the town side, from the state side. I have the networks at the state. It's worked really well. If the county's got an issue with the state, I typically have a friend up in Concord that I can call and work on an issue, which I don't think my other commissioner friends have that same relationship. And so I would hope I get the support, obviously, in my hometown. I've been very fortunate and blessed that they keep electing me, and I really appreciate it. I hope you come out on September 10th and vote for me. Also, vote for Tom because, again, experience matters.
Well, thank you both for coming on. I really enjoyed this. I feel it was really educational and informative. And good luck to both of you.
Thank you.
I'm Anthony Henry. This has been America's Ass. Thank you for watching.